All right, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Doug Sandler. I am the co-host of this show, but the real leader of this show, the Building Your Life guru, he is right over there, Mr. John Browning. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, it is stormy here in Florida. It's supposed to be nice this time of year, but man, I look out my window and it is stuff split. It blew over a full garbage can that was behind a privacy fence last night. So that was some wind.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. Well, here, 3,000 miles west of you in Ojai, California, it is beautiful, 65 degrees. We did get our first little dose of thunder last night. The first time this year we've gotten any thunder, and it is, let's see, November of 2023. This was our first rain of the year, also.
Oh my, yeah. Well, that's where you live. It is definitely not our first rain. So
Oh man. Well, welcome back to the podcast. I'm sorry you're dealing with wind but I'm glad that the weather in southern Florida is shaping up. We know we're heading into the Christmas season here, and it's going to be 65 and sunny, just like it is the rest of the year
the
round.
rest of the year, yeah, it got really cold here. It was down to 70 this morning.
Wow.
That's cold for us.
That is cold. And humidity probably only like 80%, right?
Yeah, only 80%.
All right, so today we're going to talk about, go back. If you haven't listened to last week's topic, we talked about artificial intelligence as it enters into the world of financial advisors and financial planning. So go back and listen to last week's episode. But for this week, we're going to talk about the thing that is I guess, the biggest challenge for those that are consumers when they look at their statements. Should I get in? Shouldn't I get in? When do I get in? When don't I get in? And then they try to time the market. So let's talk about timing the market. Do you know anybody that has successfully timed the market, John?
Not a single one. Not a single one.
Why does everybody think they're going to be the one, though?
Oh, it's funny. People say they're the one, right? I mean, they really, well, you know what? All right. So I will
define it for us. Define it for us
I'll
first.
dial that back just a little bit.
Okay.
The one guy that has maybe done it, one organization is Ray Dalio. I mean, it is possible you could say he's done a pretty good job, but even there, he's not really timing the market. He's doing more asset allocation, right?
Okay. So let's talk about what timing the market is, and then let's talk about why it's either a good thing, a bad thing, an indifferent thing.
Well, it was fortuitous. I did not know that this was going to happen, but in March of 2020, Advisors Magazine published an article that they had interviewed me for. Issue number 95. You can find it on the website in my bio if you'd like to go read that. But it's called Respecting the Role of Emotions in Investing, I believe is the name of it. And making money is more than just monitoring margins.
Wow.
So we did a lot of M's with that.
Okay, there you go. Alliteration. Nice.
Yeah. So essentially what that article was about was that market timing happens when investors, professional and otherwise, either number one, get scared because, my goodness, my portfolio just lost X number of percentage points. I'm never going to be able to retire. I'm going to lose everything. I'm out. And they take everything off the table. They go to cash, right? A money market fund or a checking account.
Okay.
And invariably, so you got two things about that. Invariably, they pick the wrong time to get out. It's right about the bottom. Maybe they feel good about themselves, and maybe that's why they say, "Oh, see, it went down another 3 or 4 or 5%, so I won." All right. Well, when did you get back in? That's the next thing. When did you get back in? Well, usually it's not until it's up way above where they got out.
You're talking about buying high and selling low. That's
exactly.
People love to do that, right?
Yep.
The ultimate faux pas.
One of the other fun things I like to say is the market is like, your portfolio is like a bar of soap. The more you handle it, the more it disappears.
Oh my gosh, what a great! I don't know that one. That's a great one. Okay, so somebody sees the market. They see that they've lost a few percentage points. They get scared. They pull all their money out. They put it in cash or in a very very ultra conservative mutual fund. Then what happens? So that's when they are selling low, selling low.
They're selling low, yeah, and then they see it coming back up, and they chase that thing higher, and they're like, okay, is it time now? First of all, they're agonizing about this, right? They're just keeping them up at night. Every morning they wake up, they look at the paper, they look at their phone, they're like, oh, wonder if now I should get back in. I wonder if now I should get back in. They're driving themselves nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's a whole nother aspect about it.
The psychological aspect of
The
it.
psychological, you're going to drive yourself insane, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
build your life now and in the future. Why would you build a life where you are constantly in anxiety about your portfolio? Don't do that, right? Just don't. So that's what timing the market does. I've sat next to people on TV shows, radio shows, and the like, and they will say, "Hey, I called the XYZ crash of 1987, or 2000, whatever it is, right?" And that could be true, and they gain some fame and notoriety for that. Question is, so when did you get back in? Never get a good answer on that. And the really bad ones are the ones that maybe had two of those events where they called it right, but they only talk about one side of it. I got back in or I got out. They don't talk about timing it right both times.
All right, so then let's go back and talk about I know we've done an episode in the last, couple of months on the emotion of investing. And so how do you calm someone's nerves when they are in a volatile market that's constantly going up and down, big percentage swings?
Yeah, that's so March of 2020. The reason I mentioned that it was fortuitous, I did not know that in March of 2020 we were going to lose 30% in 30 days. That was a tough time. Even if you were a professional and been doing it for as long as I have, you were starting to wonder if the world had just ended, right? But I did lose one client during that time. They called up. It was an organization, and the whole board of directors, it was a not-for-profit, had just decided the world was ending. And they took all their money out about, I think it was about March 26th or 27th or something like that, which was right almost at the bottom. And from there we recovered, and they lost. It was horrible because it was a wonderful organization. They lost all that money and did not participate in the recovery. So they just like gave away hundreds of thousands of dollars that they just held on.
If I look at the history of any of the, NASDAQ or Dow or S&P, if I just look at the history of it, aren't I reflecting the same thing in real estate that I am in the investment market? Won't it eventually come back? Unless you have to get out for some reason, emergency happens in your life, and that kind of stuff happens. But to look at the market and say it has just dropped, it's at the bottom, it's not going to go any lower than that, and I got to get out now before I lose everything. Aren't they being short-sighted and looking, well, what's going to happen in the next 2 years, in the next year, in the next, if we look at the market, Dow Jones is, where is it as of the last, as of yet, last week, where was it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it continues to go up, and of course you can't guarantee these things. We could have a once in a lifetime event, and they do happen, by the way.
Yeah.
I think 30% in 30 days was one of those once in a lifetime events. I don't think that's ever happened before, that quickly. And right now, and I'm going to date the podcast a little bit, right? But right now, we're looking at a 2-year period where essentially you've had ups and downs and rallies and sell-offs, but overall equities have been flat. And God forbid you've been in bonds over the last 2 years. You're down. If you were in 20-year treasury bonds, you were down 60%. 60%, not 16, 60%. 20-year bonds, 20-year treasury bonds, if you were in those for the last 2 years. So you take those, maybe you combine those in some way. So you're net, you're probably down over the past 2 years. That's a long time to keep the faith. It has nothing to do with the logic of looking at the historical. It has everything with how you feel.
All right. But hold on. But, and I want to get, I don't want to push back to what you're saying, because I believe in what you're saying, but you just given me a 2-year window on someone that typically, let's just take a typical person right now that's 55 years old that still has another 10, maybe 15 or 20 years before they start pulling out any of that money. You're only talking about a 2-year window, 24-month window. And I think that part of a, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think part of an advisor or a planner's responsibility is helping to calm the nerves of their clients so they don't jump out of the market when something like that happens. Is that fair?
That's fair, but it starts earlier than that, right? So if you're 55 and you're going to retire at 60, or 60 and going to retire at 65, you should have in place a portfolio that doesn't drop 30%, no matter what happens, right?
I totally agree.
And so if the advisor is doing job number one, which is understanding the timing of life cycles, because cash is not king, assets are not king, cash flow is king in retirement. And even one step further is tax free. And we can get into that in another episode. Tax free income in retirement is really king. That's a double king. So
checkmate.
And most people think, well, the only way I can get tax-free income in retirement is with a Roth IRA. Well, no, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. But getting that right and getting somebody's feelings right, which is really tough. Everybody fills out those questionnaires, right? We generally don't have a set questionnaire because I hate those things, right? Well, I will put things in real terms. If it's March 2020, by the way, this really did happen.
Okay.
I want you to understand this really happened. You had $100,000 in your portfolio.
Yeah.
By the end of that month, 30% down, it's now only worth, what is that? 70
grand.
70 grand. How do you feel?
Feel pretty
and
happy.
Oh no. And now what they'll say, generally, they'll say, oh yeah, that'd be really bad, but I can handle it. I can handle it. No, you can. All right. So then I know they're not in tune with themselves, right? Because everybody was pretty much ready to run for the hills, right? I said, I'll ask him. I said, no, really? You'd be calling me, I think. Well, yeah, I'd probably be calling you. I said, okay, so we want to talk about how we avoid that. So that just doesn't happen. And then we talk about, well, then the next thing, what if we had 2 years and the market was down 20%? By the way, that has happened.
That's definitely happened.
What if it was 2 years and you were just flat, but you felt like you took all this risk in the equity market? That's happening right now. How do you really feel? I can tell you right now is tougher than when it fell 30%. Most of my clients that don't have a real good, and maybe they're a little newer to investing and all that, even some of the ones who've been at it for a long time, they're starting to question, right? You know what? I would have been better off not taking that 2% mortgage.
Well, ripping off a Band-Aid it hurts a lot, but man, it's harder than sitting in a boiling cauldron of water for 2 years.
Yeah, right.
Because there is a lot of nerves that you have to, that you experience. Again, part of it's diversification. Part of it's just having the right relationship with your broker. Part of it is I'm not saying that this is the right thing to do, but sometimes you just can't open the statement at the end of the month. Sometimes you don't want to open the statement. And I've gone plenty of months where I just said, you know what, I have a pro taking care of it for me. I'm just not even gonna think about it.
Right. Just don't go a whole year. You need to know what it is like, but I would not open it every month. Certainly not be these poor people who look every day. So here's a confession. All right. Some days the market is open. People call me and say, what's the market doing today? I don't know. I really don't care. Because long term, I'm invested correctly. And every morning I do the morning update. We've talked about that. Yep. People can subscribe to that if they'd like to get my drivel every single morning. It's a market update. So I know what's going on. But during the day, I'm doing other stuff. I'm managing portfolios, and I'll see it if there's a war breaks out, right, which has happened a couple times the past couple of years. But I'll see that kind of stuff. But it doesn't mean that I'll change a long-term portfolio. I'm not going to worry about it.
Right.
So even I don't look at it every day. I'm not. It's just not. It's not smart.
Well, there you have it. That is words from the professional. And if he's not doing it every day for his own stuff, it's not because he's not wise. It's because he is wise. He understands the value of the long-term strategy does not get changed because of a day long down. And I get that too. Or a day long up. The other side of it too is, do you change positions because your portfolio is up 10% in a day? Oh my gosh, I got to change everything. I think, unless you tell me differently, I think it's the same strategy. It's look, I'm in this for the long term.
Yeah, we'll have to do another podcast episode on how to properly, in my opinion, manage portfolios in general, and what our process is. And it doesn't involve a lot of handling the soap and making your portfolio disappear.
Great analogy.
But it does have a lot to do with watching the percentages.
If you're in our audience and you want to get more information about what John does, how he does it, a couple of ways that you can get in touch with him. Just text the word life, LIFE, to 321-421-5213. Or, of course, you can also go to, and help me if I get this wrong, GuardianRockWealth.com. Is that the right spot?
That's right. Wealth with a TH on the end. Guardian Rock Wealth.
All right. So just go to either one of those. Text life, 321-421-5213. We'll make sure we put a link in the show notes for both John's website and to text him to get more information and to reach out to John. John, thanks for sharing another week.
All right. Thanks for having me, and we will see you next week.